Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Before I would like to touch on the matchups that are going to begin this week, I want to recap week one, some thoughts. I also want to go down for the guys that were picked up on the waiver claims because I know week one we really got to touch on these waivers. And I'm scrolling down as of right now, man. A lot of moves were made. Okay, so bottom line is this. Week one, we had a lot of surprises. I think it was an upset special for one team in particular, and already one team is trying to fight this injury bug that out of nowhere is just really damaging this one team. The first upset of the week, game ball by far for week one's got to go to Matt Morris. Look, I don't know what the heck happened. I really don't know what happened, but man, it was comical. I don't even want to say, Morris, I think your team out of the gate is amazing. It's one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen in a while. Matt Morris, congratulations. As soon as Hollywood Brown scored the first touchdown, I had to double check because Lamar Jackson threw a pass. I also had to double check because Hollywood Brown scored twice. So that was that. David Sutton, yes, you are welcome for the Deshaun Jackson call over Josh Gordon. Sorry, Johnny. He wanted my advice. I'll give it to him. Johnny's team, other than CMC in week one, and we'll talk about CMC and his performance in week two. Not. I don't know if they're not awake yet, but something's up with this team. Bottom line. We call him NWO Coffee because of his heel turn, and he stole a victory from Max. Things look really promising for Max, but Jared Cook became Jared Cook again, and the Broncos defense with that pass rush couldn't get anything going, making Rabbit Coffee, or NWO Coffee, the victor. Andre Jones, I officially hate playing you. I mean, it's pretty much a given at this point. Everybody's got a thorn in their side where they can't, do anything. The last time I can remember beating Andre Jones was because of Corey Davis's 22-point performance against the Houston Texans, which is probably never going to happen again. But the fact that I'm losing to him in a .5, like, Jesus, bro. Congratulations on the victory. Let's see. I gotta give it up for this guy, man. Two guys though. Let me get to this guy. David Cryer put himself on the map with a very solid 143-point performance. A lot of picks nobody really liked because I feel like I wouldn't say they were boring picks. I don't want to use the word bad, but he didn't go for the sexy new car that everybody wants or the hype guys that Harsh had, which I'll get to in a minute because I can't wait to touch on that. But Derrick Henry, Alshon Jeffrey, Allen Robinson, guys that nobody really wanted to own, you know, performed very well. So that was a big victory there. And I got to give it up for my man. Oh, baby. The vintage one, man, this was a hype overdose. They say that you get addicted to something and then eventually it can cause into an overdose, and we have seen it with my man, Vintage Harsh. Wow. I mean, every single guy, man, except for David Montgomery, but Jesus, man, I got to give it up for you, man. Now it comes to a question, is this team for real, or it's too early to take that. My power rankings will be in on week 3. Let's go over and touch on the guys that were picked up. This is the first segment of this. I'm combining 2 into 1 because, I got to give you the content. Matthew Morris, I think you made the right claim in going Terry McLaurin. Alan Williams, if you are listening, I said drunk at the draft. I think I was hammered, but I was like, yo, this guy's going to be dirty for the Redskins. And he's already putting himself on the map. He's the reason why they said screw Josh Doxson. Trey Quinn is just a boring slot receiver. They need a guy that can stretch the field and do a lot more. Terry McLaurin is that guy. Really like this signing a lot. Other guys that were picked up, then you had Alan Williams. You went Raheem Mostert and dropped Trey Quinn. I get it. to a point. I'm not a big believer in Tevin Coleman. Matt Breida can handle a serviceable workload. Not sure though, because I know you love drafting a shit ton of handcuffs and hoping that the lottery ticket pays off. However, and I'll state this on your matchup, when you've lost two receivers to injury, things get a little dicey here, man. But you are all about the risk. That's your calling card. This one, I was on the phone with manager Rob Coffey, and I said there's one guaranteed happening, and AJ Brown is going to Harsh. AJ Brown out of Ole Miss. I think he's a really good, talented receiver. He was the Robin to DK Metcalf's Batman. One thing that I did like about AJ Brown was his size advantage. Okay, he's not huge like DK Metcalf size, like 6'4" or whatever he is. The guy is big and he's explosive after the catch, as you saw against the Cleveland Browns. I don't think this guy is going to be fantasy viable. I think he's going to be very, very hit or miss of when he's going to go off. I think if you look at the 3 catches, they were design plays. He only played 28 of the snaps. But it's a wait and see approach. But the bottom line is the offense still runs through Derrick Henry. This one surprised me. I did not expect this guy to slip, but maybe it's because he hasn't done anything in such a long time, and he is still a backup. Gio Bernard, I think this was more of a need than it was a necessity. Paul picking him up, dropping off TJ Yeldon. I mean, nothing happens here. I went with the Titans defense. Preston Williams I did drop only because I don't think I'm ever going to play Preston Williams in my lineup. Titans D, this was a move for week 3, not week 2. John Ross had a hell of a game. Maybe this is the year he breaks out. This is the best game he's ever had in his career. Is it this Zach Taylor offense hype shit? Which Lewis, if he goes off again, we're going to start hearing this in the chat. I'm not big on John Ross because the bottom line is this, even though I don't like this person who's coming back, and now I'm talking about AJ Green. John Ross, I feel like, is going to be a deep threat. And when you have deep threats that consistently produce, it's hard to bench them, but it's hard to trust them. So who knows? Rex Burkhead. This is a guy I could have seen getting claimed a little bit earlier, but bottom line, I'm not messing with this Patriots backfield at all. Look, bottom line is this. Michelle, I said James White. I would not draft him because Rex Burkhead was still on this team. This was not me saying that I thought Rex Burkhead was going to be fantasy viable. It's because there's 3 running backs. Even Brandon Bolden got freaking snaps, man. Jesus. I had to let that one out. But Burkhead, if you are desperate enough, the only way I see you starting Rex Burkhead is if your receivers are stacked. And Johnny, you do feel like those receivers are the guys who are going to put it on for you. So we'll see with that. Vernon Davis, for the time being, is a decent pickup. Carolina's defense was already used. I think that's a weekly move. Darren Sproles, I think this was a waste of a pickup. Phillip Rivers, like that a lot. The guy should have been drafted. They don't have a good run game. I know fantasy-wise Eckler is a stud, but this is not a reliable run game. Houston, that's it. So Phillip Rivers dropping off Damian Harris. Yeah, Damian Harris, we'll probably won't even see him until like week 17. Those are my recaps on the picks, or pickups. I'll get into the picks. Okay, the first matchup I'm going to break down, and I was not big on this matchup coming in, but after the Thursday night performance, this is the one that's probably going to make the least amount of noise. And that's kind of a cop-out because of the Thursday night. I don't even want to call it a performance. A Thursday night disaster for both of these teams. I'm talking about guys who have both gone 0-1. One team, week 1, if you hit over 110, you can say to yourself, okay, at least I broke 100. But then this other team barely broke 50. Wow. Talking about Johnny and Alan Williams, man. I mean, right out of the gate, I think there are concerns more for the Allen side than there are for the Johnny side. Jesus, man. What is there to say? Johnny J. Fresh, the receivers did not come to play. And that's what made Johnny J. Fresh's team not produce. And also, Jameis Winston wet the bed, which shouldn't shock anybody at this point. When I look at Allen Williams' team, okay, when you go zero RB, like he constantly does every year, you can afford injuries to the random running backs that you plug in, but you cannot afford injuries to the wide receivers. That's a big, big hit on this team. Mike Williams goes down and Tyreek Hill goes down. Unless you do the all-in zero RB where you take like 6 to 7 wide receivers off the bat, this is a cause for concern. A big cause for concern. And when you have Cam Newton not looking 100%, that just adds more fire, man. Let's get into the matchup. By default, Aaron Rodgers will outproduce Cam Newton. However, I am not huge on Aaron Rodgers' performance this week. I do think that Allen might be able to survive the quarterback performance. You give me Aaron Rodgers' 21 points to Cam Newton's 11. Mike Evans was better than week one, but commotion is going on in the league. I think Chris Godwin is starting to take over as that alpha, and Mike Evans' routes have been reduced to deep threat material. That's a bit concerning, considering that I wouldn't say reach, but you passed over a lot of other guys to get Mike Williams. Chris Godwin, the hype is real, guys. The way I see it is if there's a guy who's building in chemistry, who's lining up all over the field, and they have an alpha or a supposed alpha wide receiver on the outside, you like those guys a lot. Mike Evans' target distribution is still decent. Maybe he is still sick. There's still some time to, be patient with Mike Evans. I would definitely view him as a buy low, though, if Allen does get panicky. And knowing Allen could have the worst team in the league, and he'll still believe in his guys. That's the type of coach that he is. Bottom line, he's taking on Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen with Stephon Diggs back in the lineup. I think this is really good for him in the slot. I don't know if they're going to have my guess is the cornerback King would be on him, but I'm not sure on that one. I think Thielen produces really good. Brandon Cook's revenge narrative. Every time he plays against the Saints, his numbers are very, very, very good. Except for New England, but that's okay because Tom Brady can't throw a deep ball. Michael Thomas against the Rams. He killed the Rams last year, and then they shut him down again. Going on the road, I think that Thomas can produce 8 catches to 100 yards, but no touchdown. Bottom line, I'm going to take the floor with Thielen, and I'm going to take the upside with Brandon Cooks in this one. This is a big disappointment. I don't think I'd ever say the day that Christian McCaffrey didn't get double-digit points. He got 6. My thing, no, this is not a cause. Wow, I can't even talk. It's not a cause for concern. However, I think the game plan was because he got fed that volume that they wanted to scale him back on a short week. Bottom line. But if Johnny does panic, hell yeah, buy low on this guy. And Kerryon Johnson, taking on Justin Hill and Devin Singletary. I might be inclined to take Allen in the running back matchup in this one, only because of McCaffrey's 6 points. And here's the reason being. Justice Hill's not going to do crap, but I do like Devin Singletary a lot against the New York Giants. I'm going to project him for 14 points. I don't know if he scores a touchdown, but I think after what I saw against the New York Jets, the snap count is rising. The usage is rising. So I like that a lot. Look, week 3, I'm going to officially take my victory lap on this guy. I am not big on Kerryon Johnson this year, and the usage is not what you wanted to see. He's still splitting with C.J. Anderson, and J.D. freaking McKissick had more targets than Kerryon Johnson. I warned you about this pick. Not big on it. He goes against the Chargers, though, and that run defense did look very, very, very soft. But the only way you are going to get value out of Kerryon Johnson is if he breaks a 40-yard run for a touchdown. I don't see it happening. I think he gives you 9 points again. I know Johnny's marking this down and can't wait until he has a breakout game. Evan Ingram versus Njoku. Give me Evan Ingram. This is the one guy that Johnny was very pleased with his performance. Will Fuller already beats O.J. Howard, and I do expect a Will Fuller touchdown in this one. A.J. Bouye is not going to suit up. Ramsey is going to shadow DeAndre Hopkins. Somebody else is out. You need Ngakoue. He's out as well. Not saying that Watson's going to have all the time in the world because he's not, but I think the Fuller and Watson connection hits in this one. Raheem Mostert taking on Mark Andrews. This is shocking that Mark Andrews is getting Johnny's going with the double tight end start. I'm really, really shocked as to him already jumping the gun on that. And I don't know if that says about his maybe he loves Mark Andrews and thinks he's going to be a top 5 tight end or something, but it's a little shocking that he gets a double tight end start. That's like an Allen strategy. Raheem Mostert against the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are very, very soft. I don't know how much work Mostert is going to get behind Matt Breida, though. That's my concern. Buffalo against the Giants, love that matchup. New England against Miami, love both of these matchups. It's time for me to pick a winner in this one. And bottom line, McCaffrey laid a dud, but Allen has a lot of dud performances that will be able to overcome a victory. Keys to victory here for Johnny. Will Fuller connection needs to happen, and I think the revenge game narrative needs to happen. I think if those two things hit, he's going to succeed. For Allen, Michael Thomas needs to ball out. I'm not talking about an 18-point performance. I'm talking about a high 20s to 30-point performance. You need a huge game from him, and you need Devin Singletary to get the bulk of the work. I think if those two things happen, you have a chance. But regardless of that, I'm going to go with Johnny J. Fresh. All right, man, let's talk about these two teams, both coming off of losses, looking to rebound their season. It's only week 2. So let's press the relax button a little bit. Paul was victim of probably the gayest harsh performance of all time. And when I'm using gay, I mean happy, not homosexual, although Paul, you could interpret it any way you want. Taking on yours truly, myself. Recap off of both of these teams. Again, we had alluded to Paul's strategy going to 0 RB and having low usage running backs can make the team very, very touchdown, boom, or bust. And I think you saw that. I think half of the guys that he played did okay, and then everybody else just wet the bed. On my side, there are some things that were a little disappointing, and it's the running backs, not the drunk wide receiver picks that I made, which is, I don't know, I guess that's the way the world works, man. Excuse me, I had a burp there a minute. Bottom line is, this is going to be a decent game. Let's get into it. You got two of the best quarterbacks for fantasy football taking on each other. You got Deshaun Watson, you got Patrick Mahomes. I think fireworks are going to be scored in this one. Mahomes doesn't have Tyreek Hill, but he's got Paul's main man, Travis Kelce. Mahomes against the Oakland Raiders. This is the first quarterback this year to get projected into the 30-point range, and rightfully so. He will probably hit that. I'm going to project Patrick Mahomes between the 30 to 35 range. Deshaun Watson had a hell of a Monday night performance. He now gets the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. I know on paper this doesn't look like a good matchup, but elite quarterbacks do elite things. I'm going to say that Deshaun Watson will produce that 25. I'm going to say he gets 27 fantasy points. Give me the advantage to Paul, a 5-point advantage or whatever I just said. DJ Moore had already played and put up a respectable 13 points. Bottom line is DJ Moore is looking like a possession guy. DJ Moore and Tyler Lockett taking on Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley. Devontae Adams, disappointing, yes, but I expect a big bounce back game here. I'm going to say Devontae Adams gets Paul 18 fantasy points. He will find the end zone. Tyler Lockett and Calvin Ridley. Now, Tyler Lockett, the most Tyler Lockett thing that could have happened last week. I was getting nervous as hell. I'm like, in the first 3 quarters, this guy's not even getting one target. What the heck is going on? And then what do you know? Tyler Lockett on low volume always seems to catch touchdowns. And now he's going against a slot corner in Mike Hilton, who is pretty bad. I expect Seattle to trail in this game, which means that we're going to have to rely on Lockett underneath more in this game. I think this is more of a PPR game for Tyler Lockett. He might find the end zone, but you know what? I don't even want to project Tyler Lockett touchdowns because they always seem to like come whenever you least expect it. Calvin Ridley scored later on in that game to salvage a terrible game for the Atlanta Falcons. He gets a very favorable matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles, so you got to like that. Because of the alpha wide receiver, Paul, I'll give you respect. I'll give you the advantage slightly in the wide receiver department. Jordan Howard and Carlos Hyde, these guys are touchdown or bust. I think we know that. I think you know that as well. So it shouldn't shock anybody that these guys are going to be starting for Paul. Nick Chubb, Damian Williams. Nick Chubb, wow. The Browns laid an egg. Nick Chubb happened to be their best offense. No, excuse me. If we want to get technical, Nicholas, it was Dontrell Hilliard who did the most. All right. But other than that, the volume was fine for Nick Chubb. And I think in a game where the Jets are going to wet the bed, I like this matchup a lot. Damian Williams, yes, we know that the split is going to happen with LaShawn McCoy, but the usage will still be there in the Damian Williams goal line role and the pass catching role. Because of that, I'm going to give myself the advantage in the running back department. It's just because the usage is going to be there. What if I told you Darren Waller, Paul, would outproduce Travis Kelce? Your response? Fuck you. You're right. It's not going to happen. But Darren Waller looked very promising, and I liked what I saw out of the guy. Hold on. I mean, this Darren Waller guy, man, especially, he does special things, man. I mean, you see Derek Carr, man. He's dropping back and just throwing it up, man, and Waller just catches the ball, man. Travis Kelce's going to have a bounce back game with no Tyreek Hill. I think this is the most aggressive tight end production or projection I've seen since Rob Gronkowski. 17 points. I'm going to give Travis Kelce a 20-point performance. Darren Waller, I think, will get 12 points. Josh Smokey Brown and Aaron Jones taking on Zach Ertz and Robbie Anderson. Zach Ertz, see, my philosophy is this. When guys who usually get touchdowns don't have touchdowns, they're due for a bounce back game, man. John Brown and Aaron Jones taking on Zach Ertz, Robbie Anderson. You can't bench Robbie Anderson, unfortunately, because of the way that your team is set up. But on a positive note, like, they're going to be trailing. So if you follow that game script, he's probably going to get some passes thrown his way. Zach Ertz, this matchup against the Falcons last year would have been money. It would have been, I would have told you, yo, predict Zach Ertz to get a touchdown, and you probably would have gotten a touchdown in this matchup. The Falcons defense has tightened up a little bit, but they're still very vulnerable. Smokey Brown, I love the connection with Josh Allen. This was a guy in my draft, whether I was drunk or not, I wanted really, really bad because I think the connection and the skill set of Josh Allen and John Brown are a perfect match. That's what we were saying, like with Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill because of the long arm and the speed. Love it. Aaron Jones, look, he's my guy. But this matchup is a little bit concerning. I understand, like, it's not as bad as the Chicago Bears, but this Minnesota front is still very, very serviceable. I think Brown has a decent day, and I think Jones has like an okay day. I don't think he hits that projection of 12. I think it's like a 10-point game. Ertz will probably find the end zone, though. Baltimore D taking on Minnesota D. The Baltimore D, I think, looks really, really good later on until the garbage time happens. And Minnesota can get to Aaron Rodgers, absolutely. Alrighty. Disclaimer, D.D. Westbrook may get the start. Depends how I feel Sunday morning. If I feel like Houston just kills the Jaguars, game script, D.D. Westbrook could be like a bullshit garbage time type of guy. The only other guy I would have considered was Chris Thompson, but I'd rather just go with my guys at this point and go with some management decisions that may cost me or may make me out to be the victor. But let's talk about the game. Keys for Paul. The Mahomes-Kelce combo has to eat, and I think after Kelce didn't do shit, it's going to happen. I follow this narrative. I do get very, there is a concern if you're playing a guy who, laid a dud, right? I mean, it's just natural. Keys to victory for Paul. You need that combo to go off. Devontae Adams needs to be on his game, and I think the Calvin Ridley touchdown has to happen again. Keys for myself, having a 13-point total right now is very, very promising. I think DJ Moore definitely is going to cancel out one or come close to canceling out one of Paul's receivers. Keys to victory: Tyler Lockett needs to do Tyler Lockett things, which means he needs to catch touchdowns. But the other key to victory is that Nick Chubb needs to be this absolute man of a workhorse, and the Browns need to realize that they are a decent team or favorites. Those are my keys to victory, Paul. That's what's going to happen for either of us to win. Next matchup I want to break down for everybody really quickly. These guys had losses in the opposite direction. The Lewis Todd team did not perform very well, and Maxwell Mandel, he got robbed of NWO coffee. Let's break it down. Lewis, did you even have this guy last week? Oh, okay. Lewis is going to go with Jared Goff, and I think that's the right call at home against the New Orleans Saints defense. Cooper Kupp is now part of this offense. Bottom line is this, though. I think Goff for fantasy looks nice, but in real life last week, man, he looked off. He missed Robert Woods like a million times. Russell Wilson, I'm not huge on against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Steelers sack him a lot in this game. Could be trouble for Russ. Keenan Allen is going to have a field day. I think Lewis, prepare yourself because he's probably going to be my wide receiver in DraftKings. Keenan Allen's going to have a field day. Darius Slay will not shadow him in the slot. They have no other receivers to trust. Their tight end is hurt already. It's going to be Eckler and Keenan Allen. That is the stack you want in DraftKings if you do tournaments. That all the volume is going to go there. I do think that Justin Jackson gets a lot more work as well, but that is the bottom line. Bottom line. Tyler Boyd, I liked it out of the gate, and then he calmed down a bit. John Ross stole all his thunder somehow. Bottom line, Keenan Allen will have a field day. Tyler Boyd, I think, is like a safe 8 to 10 for now. Curtis Samuel puts up 11 points. As bad as Cam Newton is, if you're an owner of Curtis Samuel or DJ Moore, you got to be encouraged by the target usage that both of these guys are getting. Samuel more likely in the deep threat role, and he might finish with more touchdowns than DJ Moore. So I think you got to like that pick a lot. And hold on, man, I'm looking for something. Has anybody seen my friend Antonio Brown? Yo, Antonio Brown, man. I mean, I wish him the best of luck, man, in New England. But look. This guy is like the make or break thing for DraftKings, and even if your lineup, the range of outcomes is 7 points to like, I'll say like 20. I think Antonio Brown, it's funny because this janitor at my school, right, off topic, is like, picking off of my habits. And I think he's right. He said, they're not going to use him on drives, but when they get into the red zone, he's going to be used and he's going to catch 2 touchdowns. I actually like that. I like that thought process a lot. I think Antonio Brown has 2 catches for 20 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's just like the way New England wants to like break in their players, is like stuff like that. So with the 2 touchdowns, 2 catches, you're looking between 14, 16. I'm not doing the math correctly, but that's pretty nice. Bottom line, because of that, I give the slight advantage to Max, though, just because there's more certainty in the receiver department. The backs. These are almost like identical. Zeke taking on Barkley, Fournette taking on Sony Michel. I'm going to give the slight advantage to Max in the running back department in this one. Leonard Fournette and Sony Michel, I think, are pretty much even. Fournette getting pass game work makes his value a lot better. And I think if you are a truther of Leonard Fournette, you got to love what you see. It's just a matter of time until he gets hurt. But you could also say the same thing for Sony Michel and his knees. Bottom line, that performance I don't see happening again. But you got to wonder if New England goes up big. I can see this being the Rex Burkhead show later on. Or like breaking in Antonio Brown, like stuff like that. So slight advantage to Max, but it's close. Michel's got to rely on touchdowns. Fournette might have the pass game work. There's a lot of uncertainty here, but bottom line, why I'm taking him, I like Elliott better than I like Saquon Barkley for this week. Jared Cook taking on Austin Cooper. Who cares? T.Y. Hilton and 8. Oh my, no. Are you kidding me? All right, maybe Lewis has an advantage in the flexes. T.Y. Hilton and Adrian Peterson against Todd Gurley and Jarvis Landry. T.Y. Hilton, all right, Brissett is a capable quarterback. The way I think T.Y. Hilton is going to be used, though, because he can't throw deep that well, is like a Doug Baldwin. I think T.Y. Hilton becomes a new Doug Baldwin to Jacoby Brissett, which is fine. That means that you're going to have a low-end wide receiver, too. Gurley. Max, if I'm you, get out of eight. No, actually, you know what? I'm not going to help anybody unless he asks me for it. I'm not going to go do it on air because, I don't want anybody's feelings to get hurt. But Todd Gurley, whether you want to hear this or not, this is going to be a committee. But it's not going to be a committee every single game. I think they're obviously concerned about his knees. I mean, let's be honest. He's running out of bounds all the time. He's on the field, though. I know the snap percentages look freaking amazing, but they use him in there for a decoy because they want the defense to keep honest. They could still run with him or they could still pass. And in McVay's system, all his plays are relying on play action and those play action crossers. That's what makes Sean McVay's system very, very effective. The fact that they have Todd Gurley in the back, you got to respect run or pass because they're going to tip their plays. If Malcolm Brown comes in there, most likely it's going to be a run play. Jarvis Landry against the Jets. I don't know what's going on with these Browns, man. I don't know. Time for me to shut up and pick up. I'm going to say it's a draw on the flex. It's a very close matchup because I'm not a big Todd Gurley guy. T.Y. Hilton could get a lot of volume, but I don't like Peterson or Landry. And Carolina and Denver. Denver's D is the play this week. Wow, time to pick myself a winner. I think Goff outproduces Russell Wilson. That I think is going to happen. I think Antonio Brown at least finds the end zone at least once. Keenan Allen and Tyler Boyd are decent plays. The running backs are decent plays. But I think if Lewis is to have the key to victory, he needs those flexes to at least produce because I think Max is very vulnerable in his flex department matchup. Jeez. I'm going to have to go with, in this one, slight margin. I'm going to go with Lewis to edge out Max. I think Goff has a really good game compared to Russell Wilson's game. And I think when you look at the box score, I think the difference is going to be quarterbacks. I'm going to say Lewis puts up, let's give him 122 to Max's 119. Oh man, you can already feel the hype on this one, guys. This is it, you can feel the hype going everywhere. You got King David absolutely defending his throne. And the king got some advice from a certain someone who shall not be named about Deshaun Jackson. But no, you're welcome. You're welcome. And then, I mean, talk about hype. Matthew Morris. Wow. Let's get into it, fellas. Two teams, 1-0. Who's going to be 2-0 in this one? Well, I'm going to call it right here first. Carson Wentz taking on Ben Roethlisberger. I like Wentz a lot in this matchup, but I do think on the road, I think I can see him throwing a lot of turnovers. Big Ben Roethlisberger is going to feast. Matt Morris already making management moves and looking at everybody and telling them to go suck a dick. Because look at this. Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben Roethlisberger. Bounce back. Hell yeah. That Seattle defense is absolutely atrocious. Trey Flowers is a joke. There's corners. Terrible. There's safeties. That John Ross touchdown. How bad did that safety play that ball? Ben Roethlisberger is going to go off. My bold prediction here is Big Ben Roethlisberger throws for 4 touchdowns. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to catch 1. This is a breakout performance. You heard it here first. Go to DraftKings. James Washington, 2 touchdowns. Vance McDonald, 1 touchdown. I'm not starting James Washington, though. I can't do it. I can't do it. Kenny Galladay. Terry McLaurin taking on Cooper Kupp or Sammy Watkins. David, if you think there's a guy that I'll point out on your bench, I might. But Cooper Kupp, I think this is the game that they use him. I think the Rams didn't have him in the playoffs, and they couldn't move the ball effectively. Sammy Watkins with wide receiver one volume. Oh, it's just like David planned all along. He said, take me back to when Sammy Watkins was a number one wide receiver and where I fell in love for the first time. And you got it, man. Kenny Galladay and Terry McLaurin, man. All right, Kenny. Sorry, I shouldn't have broken that accent out yet. Kenny Galladay. I like that he is being treated as the alpha, but I don't like this matchup a lot for Kenny Galladay. Terry McLaurin, I don't know what the hell is going to happen there. I like the talent a lot. I'm going to have to go with Cooper Kupp and Sammy Watkins. Dalvin Cook and return of the Mac, Marlon Mack, taking on a guy I'm probably going to be wrong about. And yeah, David Johnson and James Conner. James Conner, this is a big bounce back game for them. I think the Steelers smashed the Seattle Seahawks. David Jansen, David Jansen, David Jansen. Look, okay? Last week I was about to take my victory lap when I saw in the third quarter he had only a few catches and like no rushing yards because that's what concerned me. But this pass volume and the freaking air raid offense is going to make him out to be a running back one. Jesus, I'm going to be wrong on this. If he does it again this week and breaks double digits, I'm gonna admit to the world that I was wrong about David Johnson and I was a coward and I should have taken him because their offense sucks. But this air raid thing, I guess, is for real. For fantasy. In real life, I don't know how that's going to work out. Dalvin Cook, going to eat. Marlon Mack, I don't know. I know I wasn't big on him, and I'm still not big on him against the Tennessee Titans. Give me David's backs. Delaney Walker, man, this is a throwback David team. Delaney Walker taking on Vernon Davis, man. Oh, these guys combined for an age of like 65. Delaney Walker and Vernon Davis, Delaney Walker makes Marcus Mariota a better quarterback. I'm not saying okay, look, I am a Mariota truther. I'll be front up with you guys on this. But when they have Delaney Walker in the lineup, his numbers are so much better. He just gives them the security that he needs. And I love Delaney Walker a lot because now they're running effectively. They have a really good offensive line and play action. Delaney Walker is a great find late in the draft, taking on Vernon Davis. I'm going to go with Delaney Walker. Deshaun Jackson. Taking on Marquise Brown, giving Deshaun Jackson. Ito Smith, why? Josh Jacobs. I mean, let me tell you about this Josh Jacobs guy, man. This Josh Jacobs, man, he just hits the hole and just bowls over everybody, man. I mean, when I look at Josh Jacobs, man, it reminds me of a time I had a guy in Tampa. And I used to call him Cadillac Williams. And he was a Cadillac until I ran him into the ground. And that Cadillac got a flat tire, man. This Josh Jacobs is gonna be something, man. Look, I like Josh Jacobs. The volume was there running that wise. My concern is this game will dictate if he is going to be what they hyped him up in the preseason and to get all these, the pass game work. They haven't trailed from behind, which, let's be honest, they're going to do in this game. So I want to see if he's still going to be out there, or do they say, we're down by a lot, go on the bench. We got to take Jalen Richard in. Dallas D taking on Kansas City. Kansas D. Like both matchups as well. Bottom line, I gotta take Art. I know David. Is there anybody on the bench? I don't have a good gut feeling. I did last week. I don't really have it this week. I think Josh Gordon could be a good play, but you don't know with the usage with Antonio Brown. So I wouldn't mess with it. I think you have the right guys in there. You have Cooper Kupp and probably a good volume role, and you have Sammy Watkins in a good volume role. I wouldn't change anything with those wide receivers. Matt, I'll help you out as well. I don't want to give David all the kudos and then whatnot. I don't know why Ito Smith is in there. I don't. This sounds sad, but I'd probably go Danny Amendola. Keys to victory. Marquise Brown needs to have 2 touchdowns again for Matt. Kenny Galladay needs to score, and Roethlisberger needs to eat. I think those are the 3 main factors for him. And as for Mr. Sutton, like I said, this was my favorite team after the draft. It still is. I mean, if you look at David's bench, this is a starting roster. Devonta Freeman, Josh Gordon, Larry Fitzgerald, Not Devonta Parker, Kiki Kute possibly, Jacksonville defenses as well. Bottom line of what I'm trying to tell you is that bench is going to be shipped to Paul for Travis Kelce by the end of this week. You can guarantee it. Okay, you heard it here first, before we get to the main event of this matchup, disclaimer, I thought this was going to be my main event matchup until the Thursday night performance happened, and rightfully so. I gotta like what I've seen from these teams. I think NWO Coffee is for real. I mean, he will get a lot of heel victory wins, and I mean, he stole one. He stole one from Max. David Cryer trying to make a name for himself, man. This was a guy a lot of people, man, were not happy about the draft. I don't think he drafted a lot of bust picks, but it was just, like I said, boring. These aren't flashy guys. These aren't guys that have, are new. There are a lot of veterans, but they're proven nonetheless. Both teams are 1-0. Right now, Yahoo has Rob Coffee as the favorite. Let's see if I agree with that. Lamar Jackson versus Drew Brees. Lamar Jackson, the cheat code of quarterbacks, will outproduce Drew Brees. In this one, I can see Drew Brees throwing maybe even one touchdown. I can see it being that type of a game for Drew Brees. Give me Lamar. Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., both of these guys look for bounce back spots. Taking on Edelman and Allen Robinson. A-Rob is going to get a lot of volume, I think. Allen Robinson, I think, two guys that are going to be very good for PPR leagues are going to be Allen Robinson and DJ Moore, because they get catches, and it's like, if Allen Robinson's getting 9 catches, it's not going to be anything that deep, and DJ Moore's kind of the same thing. Julian Edelman, I still expect him to be Tom's guy. Julio. Big game for Julio Jones. Huge game for Julio Jones. Odell Beckham. The fact that Greg Williams just made fucking fun of him. I'm David Cryer. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My defensive coordinator on my team is an asshole. Odell Beckham is going to go off. Just the way it's going to be. Duke Johnson and Matt Breida. See, this is the best thing that could have happened to Team Coffee, is Tevin Coleman getting hurt and Matt Breida getting this workhorse work. But I got to tell you, man, that Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry stack right over there, woo, looks very, very promising. I got to go with David Cryer, man. I think these guys have massive, massive days. I think that these guys could combine for pretty much 50 points. Not hating on Mr. Coffee's running backs here, or NWO Coffee's running backs at all. Vance McDonald, if he doesn't score this week, this guy's just not good. I don't care what anybody says. George Kittle will have a bounce back game as well. Oh my God. Coffee, if you're, I'm looking at your flexes right now, man, and if you haven't, jizzed in your pants already, Jesus Christ. LaShawn McCoy and Alshon Jeffrey taking on Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. I don't think I would have ever had 2 Dallas receivers on the same team starting unless it was a bye, but this is a different Cowboys team. I know there's Kellen Moore hype. Look, I think Kellen Moore just isn't as conservative as what's-his-face, Linehan. And I think that we don't want to buy too much into that game because it was the Giants. Can Cooper and Gallup both be a combo that's worth starting? Maybe. It'll be interesting because both did find the end zone. I think one finds the end zone. I'm going to play this game like I did last year with your Juju Devontae combo. Over or under, and I'm going to set the over-under for now because we don't know what's going to happen. Over under 30 points. Give me the over. I'm going to take Amari Cooper at 22 points and give me Michael Gallup at 9. LaShawn McCoy taking on LaShawn McCoy and Alshon Jeffrey. This would be a perfect game to break out McCoy and score his first rushing touchdown, which I think is going to happen. Alshon Jeffrey against the Atlanta Falcons on the road. He's still going to get the targets. Houston D versus Gardner Minshew taking on, Jets D. Wow. Very ballsy play here, man. Bottom line is this. David Cryer's backs are going to have field days, and George Kittle is going to have a field day. I think those 3 alone, I think you're going to see them combined for 70 points. You heard it here first. That's the big 3. If those guys if one of those doesn't go off, I think Coffee's got a very big chance of defeating him because I love Julio. I love Beckham. And I got to say that as the combo for Dallas is very hit or miss, but I think the floor for Duke Johnson and Matt Breida could make him succeed a little bit more. And Lamar Jackson, Okay, I'm gonna call my shot, call my winner right now. This is gonna be the highest scoring game of the slate, of the Boston #2 slate. Lamar Jackson, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham combo, I think will outproduce not outproduce, but what I'm getting at is they will be on par with the Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, George Kittle combo, and I do think that the Duke Johnson, Matt Breida floor sustains Coffey's victory just enough. I'm going to go big on this one. I'm going to say Robert Coffey scores 158 to David Cryer's 139. It's not often this happens where my man is in the main event, but he is. Vintage one taking on Dre, the Dre Tones. Andre, if you're ever going to win a decimal match, it's only going to be against me for some reason. So, congrats on the victory. Saved by the bell, baby. We got 133 predicted to 132. Godwin goes off, but Greg Olson doubled his projections. Oh, God. Wow. Tom Brady taking on Dak Prescott. Give me Tom Brady. I'm skimming through that. Can Hopkins beat Godwin's 22 points? I'm going to say the answer to that is going to be no. He'll get 20. Juju Smith-Schuster taking on Christian Kirk. Juju, bounce back game right here. Mark Ingram, James White, Chris Carson, or Austin Eckler. I think Carson is being projected because of his pass game volume. I don't like James White. I'm not even the biggest guy on Mark Ingram. But I'm really big on Eckler. Love it. Let me take Harsh. Can TJ Hawkinson did what he did? I think the matchup is very favorable without Derwin James. But I don't know if the volume will be there. Hawkinson, 9 points. Robbie Woods. Oh, the Gazelle is starting now. What's going on, kid? Is Diggs on the injury report again? So when he's injured, you know the routine. When he's injured, you don't start him. Da, 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 da. Bottom line is Andre's gambling because already his third or fourth round pick is on the bench. It's all right. Tyrell and the game script, I like that call a lot. Robbie Woods in the he's not a game script guy, he's a volume guy. Lev and David Montgomery, I actually like the Andre calls in this one. Cleveland D, love it. Chicago D, I love it, but I still think that Trubisky puts them in bad spots. I think this matchup is another close one, but I think I'm going to have to go with Andre Jones in this one. The bottom line, what it comes down to, is Tom Brady will do work. Juju will do work. Hopkins is always a guarantee, and the floor of Robert Woods will prevail. Guys that make Harsh a little bit disappointed. David Montgomery, I don't see it happening yet. Christian Kirk is like a wild card at this point. Bottom line is that's what's going to happen. Hope you enjoyed the picks.